Hey there, and welcome to today's deep dive. You know, it's amazing how fast things are changing in AI these days. Like, remember back when just being able to Google it felt revolutionary? Buckle up, because we're going even deeper down the rabbit hole today as we explore prompt engineering and generative AI.
It really is like a whole new world opening up.
It is, we're diving deep into this new book, Prompt Engineering, Unlocking Generative AI. And to get this, the book itself was co-written with AI.
Wow. Talk about meta.
Right. A real-life example of what we're talking about here, this whole human AI collaboration thing. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's define what exactly prompt engineering is. I've got our expert here to, break it down.
Yeah, happy to. In the simplest terms, think of prompt engineering like you're having a conversation with the AI, to kind of guide it toward creating what you have in mind. You're crafting the perfect input, that's the prompt, to get the output you want from these language models like GPT-4.
So not just typing in a keyword and hoping for the best like we used to do.
Exactly. It's a totally different mindset from just Googling something. With prompt engineering, you're not just searching for information, you're actually guiding the AI to generate something totally new.
So you really have to understand how the AI thinks, so to speak.
Yeah, you have to understand how it processes information, what it's good at, where it falls short, and how to basically speak its language to get the result you're after.
The book really made that point, about the paradigm shift. It's like we're moving away from giving AI rigid instructions and towards this more natural, like almost intuitive way of interacting.
For sure.
It's kind of like how, I don't know, how coding evolved from those old punch cards to these sleek interfaces we use now.
That's a really good analogy. We're moving away from this very line by line, super specific way of talking to computers and into something that feels a lot more human.
So does that mean, and maybe this is getting ahead of ourselves, but will we all have to become prompt engineers in the future? Like, will this be an essential skill, like knowing how to use a search engine is today?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but the potential is definitely there for it to become that big. But the great thing is, it's not just for the super techie people.
hmm
Prompt engineering takes a lot of different skills. Clear communication, definitely some creativity, analytical thinking.
Okay, so you're telling me it's not just about being a tech whiz.
Yeah.
I have to admit, when I first started reading about all this prompt engineering stuff, I definitely thought it was going to be all algorithms and code. Not my thing.
Not at all. It's way more multidisciplinary than that. Just think about it. Writers crafting these compelling stories, educators designing engaging lessons for their students, data analysts trying to find insights in these massive data sets. These are all areas where prompt engineering can be super valuable.
It's like you're giving these professions a superpower, a way to amplify their work and problem solve on another level with this AI help.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. We're already seeing how prompt engineering is changing things in design, marketing, even scientific research. The possibilities really are kind of endless at this point.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my interest even more now. But before we get totally lost in all the potential applications, let's rewind a bit, go back to basics. How did we even get here? The book does a nice job tracing this whole evolution of language models, starting from those early, more basic statistical models to, the emergence of neural networks. And then boom, OpenAI's GPT series kind of explodes onto the scene. Can you walk us through what makes the GPT series, especially GPT-4, so groundbreaking?
Absolutely. So the GPT series, especially GPT-4, is a huge leap forward in AI. We're talking about models trained on massive amounts of data, able to create text that sounds incredibly human, and they understand context in ways we've never seen before.
Okay, I'm hooked, so keep going.
Okay, so think of it this way. If GPT-3 was like a really bright high school student, then GPT-4 is like a seasoned professor with years of experience.
So we've gone from high school to, like, professor level in just a few years.
Pretty much, yeah. And you mentioned earlier GPT-4's ability to grasp context. In practice, that means, for example, say you're having a conversation with GPT-4 about something super complex, like the history of philosophy or something. GPT-4 can not only remember information about different philosophers and their ideas, but it can actually understand the nuances of their arguments, like the historical context they're writing in, and even how their ideas might have influenced each other. It's like you're having a conversation with a real expert, someone who really gets it, not just spits out facts.
That's wild. It's like AI is finally starting to get us, like, understand how we humans think and talk.
Yeah.
What about this multimodal thing I keep hearing about? The book mentions GPT-4 is being developed to process both text and images. Is that even possible?
It is, and it's probably one of the most exciting things happening in the field right now. It's still being worked on, but this multimodal thing means GPT-4 will be able to process and understand images along with text. It's like we're giving AI the gift of sight, letting it experience the world a little bit more like we do.
Wow, that is something else. Hold on, let me catch my breath. Okay, so we're talking about AI that could analyze visual art, understand those infographics we see everywhere, maybe even help design products or interpret medical imaging. That's straight out of Star Trek. This is
A
blowing my
little
mind.
bit.
This
Okay.
is seriously next level stuff. Okay, before we completely geek out on the potential of GPT-4, let's pause here for a second, come back to what this all means in the bigger picture. We'll be right back after a quick break.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are. We've got so much more to uncover.
Okay, we're back, and I'm still reeling from all this AI stuff. Prompt engineering, this whole GPT evolution, it's a lot. But before we go any further, I gotta ask, even with something as advanced as GPT-4, I imagine there are still things it struggles with, right?
Oh, absolutely. No technology is perfect, and that includes these fancy language models.
Right, right.
One of the biggest limitations is, well, imagine trying to learn about the world, but you only have access to information that's a few years old.
I see where you're going with this.
GPT-4's knowledge is based on this massive data set, right? But that training happened at a specific point in time. Anything that's happened since then, new discoveries, events, you name it, GPT-4 wouldn't have a clue.
It's like it's stuck in the past or something.
Kinda, yeah. And that's why this new development with plugins for GPT-4 is so exciting.
Plugins, okay. Tell me more.
So they're still in the early stages, but basically these plugins are like bridges, you know? They let GPT-4 access and process real-time information straight from the internet.
Whoa, hold on. So it's like giving GPT-4 a live feed of what's happening right now, constantly updating its brain.
Exactly. It's like giving GPT-4 access to a constantly updating encyclopedia. It could be huge.
Okay, now my mind is really spinning with the possibilities. What could we even do with that kind of power?
Think about it. You could ask GPT-4 to write a blog post on the very latest scientific discovery, even if it just happened this morning. Or imagine having a conversation with GPT-4 about, like, current events, and it's giving you up-to-the-minute insights. It could totally change how we consume information.
It's like having a personal AI assistant that's always in the loop, always up to date. It's amazing, but, and you knew I was going to go here, it makes you think about the potential downsides too, like ethically speaking. The book mentioned this whole thing about being really careful with AI, especially something this powerful, you know?
You're right to be cautious. It's a double-edged sword for sure. As AI gets more woven into our lives, we have to be super careful about how we're developing it, how we're using it.
Right, because it's not just about what AI can do, but should do, right?
Exactly. We want to use this technology responsibly.
Like having this powerful new tool. We want to use it to build amazing things, not accidentally cause harm. So how do we make sure we're using prompt engineering and AI ethically? Give me something concrete.
Well, for one, we have to be really careful about how we phrase our prompts, the actual questions we're asking the AI,
Oh, interesting.
because the way we ask something can actually influence the kind of answer we get back.
Oh, wow. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's subtle but important. For example, instead of asking, why are certain jobs mostly done by men or women, which might lead to some biased responses, we could ask, what are the historical and social factors that have led to the way jobs are divided by gender? See how that can lead to a more nuanced answer.
That is a really good point. So it's about being like extra thoughtful in how we talk to these AIs. Realizing that even small changes in how we phrase things can make a big difference.
Exactly. It's almost like we need to be aware of our own biases, our own assumptions, so we don't accidentally pass those on to the AI.
It's like we're still kind of like parenting these AIs in a way, even though they're these super advanced programs.
Yeah.
Okay, what else? What other ethical things should we be thinking about?
Transparency is a big one. If we're using AI to create things, whether it's a piece of writing or a cool design or even music, we have to be open about how it was created.
So give credit where credit is due, even if the credit goes to, like, a bot.
Exactly. Transparency builds trust and shows we're using AI responsibly. Let's not pretend a human made it when it was the AI.
Honesty and transparency. I like it.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. We've covered so much ground. We started with the technical stuff about prompt engineering, went into the philosophical side with ethics, and even peeked into the future a little bit. It's clear that this whole field is more than just ones and zeros.
It really is. It's about understanding how we think, how we communicate, even our own values, and then figuring out how AI can help us do those things even better. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Before we wrap up, one last question for you. We talked about the present, the potential downsides, but what about the future? Where are we headed with all of this prompt engineering, this AI revolution? Any guesses?
If I had a crystal ball, I'd tell you. But things are moving so fast. We're going to see some incredible breakthroughs, I'm sure of it, and I bet prompt engineering is going to be a big part of it.
So no crystal ball, but you're saying hold on tight because it's going to be wild.
Something like that. Seriously, though, we're talking about AI that can understand human language, create new stuff, even see the world through images. Who knows what senses they'll give AI next?
I need a nap after this episode. My brain is fried in a good way. Okay, let's take a quick break to process all this and then come back for the grand finale of this deep dive. Okay, we're back. One last time. I have to say, even with that break, my head's still spinning from everything we've talked about.
I hear you. It's a lot to take in, that's for sure.
Before we officially wrap up this deep dive, I want to go back to that idea of a paradigm shift we were talking about earlier. It really hit me that prompt engineering, it's not just this niche thing for tech people. It's like this fundamental change in how we deal with technology altogether.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
a whole new way of thinking about how we interact with computers, with AI.
Right. Like, think about it. Traditional programming, it was all about giving these really specific step-by-step instructions.
It was no room for error, no room for the computer to, think for itself, really.
Exactly. And now with prompt engineering, it's like we're setting an intention, giving some context, and we're guiding the AI toward what we want. It's a collaboration almost.
That's a great way to put it, a collaboration. We're not just dictating every little thing anymore. We're working with the AI.
So instead of being like the strict director, now we're more like, I don't know, partners with the AI.
Right.
We're trying to create something new together.
Exactly. And in that process, who knows what amazing things we might discover that we never even imagined before.
Okay, last analogy, I promise. But it's like the difference between, say, building a house from this super detailed blueprint versus like sketching out your dream home with an architect and then letting them use their expertise to make it real.
I love that. You're giving the creative spark the vision, but then the AI brings its own intelligence to the table.
Well, this has been quite a journey. We really explored the whole world of prompt engineering and generative AI, from the technical side to the ethical questions we need to be asking, and even what the future might hold.
It's a lot to think about. Like we said, we're just scratching the surface here.
We are. But for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to dive in and learn more, I highly recommend the book, Prompt Engineering: Unlocking Generative AI. It is seriously packed with great info, practical tips, and it gets you thinking about the potential of all of this in ways you wouldn't expect.
Couldn't agree more. If you want to understand where AI is going and how it's going to impact, well, everything. Read that book.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with one final kind of big question. What if this whole thing, mastering this art of talking to AI, crafting that perfect prompt, what if it becomes as essential as, I don't know, knowing how to use the internet is today?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What a world that would be.
Right. What opportunities will that open up? What challenges will it bring? It's a lot to ponder for sure. But for now, we're out of time. Thanks to everyone for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of prompt engineering and AI. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those big, important questions.